So, you're looking to buy a private jet or maybe lease one, and that's why you landed on this video about 2 ways to buy a private jet. Now, what qualifies me to give you some advice about what jet to buy? Well, I started my career flying airplanes when I was a kid. I was 15 years old, flying gliders, then got my private pilot's license at 17. Started a career flying private jets, got into private jet sales, management of aircraft. I also was marketing for an FBO. I also set up for the FBO in particular, I set up a charter brokerage for flights. I managed flight departments, private jet operations, as well as managing aircraft for owners, and then went into the airlines, had a career as an airline pilot, flew all over the world, and then decided to finish that aspect of my life and come back into the business side of aviation. So I've seen it all. I've seen all the private jet stuff, I've seen the airline stuff from an operational standpoint, from a commercial standpoint. So I understand the industry 360 degrees basically. So that's why, I call myself an aviation advisor. So I'm here today to talk about these 2 ways of how you can buy a private jet. My name is Fabrizio Poli, and I'm the founder here of BizJet TV. I also write for AvBuyer magazine. You can click the link below, which will drive you to my articles in AvBuyer magazine. That's a great magazine, comes out every month. And I collaborate with them, so that's an interesting one. So the first way for you to buy a private jet is to do what you've been doing lately, which has been searching the internet, looking into YouTube. You're probably Googling certain jets, and you're landing on AvBuyer website or controller.com. They're good websites, lots of airplanes for sale. The problem is, once you click on one aircraft, it takes you to the page which belongs to a brokerage. Now, what most brokers do is they spend all day long talking to aircraft owners to try and convince them to sell their airplane. Once the owner of the aircraft has decided it's time to sell the airplane, they will appoint a broker and pay the broker to go out and find someone to buy the airplane. So the broker's out there and they advertise in AvBuyer, Controller and other websites and whatever, as well as putting the aircraft on their own thing. So when you ring this broker up to find out information about the airplane, what you have to bear in mind that they are getting paid by the owner of the aircraft. So they're working for the owner of the aircraft. They're not working for you. Now, I work differently. I represent buyers. So if you're a buyer, I could represent you. My team can represent you, but we'll get into that a bit later. So let's just go through the process that a lot of people go through when they're buying their first jet, and they kind of get it wrong, or they go down this path. So they ring 3 or 4 different people. They've decided after doing some research for a few weeks that the G5 is the right airplane for them. So they talk to 10 different people that have got these G5s for sale, and they kind of think, okay, this one over here seems to be the nicest one. It's got pretty pictures. I like the interior. It's $8.5 million. Let's buy it. Now, when you do that, when you're buying an aircraft, it's a very, very sophisticated buy. And, finding an aircraft for sale is just one element of the deal. You've got to have lawyers, you've got to have pre-buy inspection, and then you've got to also worry about, once you've bought the aircraft, how are you going to fly it afterwards? You're going to need crew, you're going to need a management company. So there's a lot of aspects to it. And you've got to be very, very careful, because if you're not an aviation professional, or you don't have an aviation professional representing you, and they will represent you when you pay them, so you can't say, oh, the broker I bought the airplane off, he helped me out, because it's not in his interest. So, you've got to be very, very careful when you go down that route. Because I had a gentleman a few months ago. He contacted me. He was a fan of BizJet TV. And we did a call. And I gave him advice on what aircraft he should buy. Then I did a follow-up call to see what he was going to do. I sent him out an agreement. He knew about the retainer fee that needs to be paid up front in order to get me and the team working away. And I didn't hear from him for a few weeks until he sends me a message on WhatsApp saying, oh, I just bought this lovely Astra jet. And I thought, okay, for $850,000. Oh, it's really good airplane. It's just finished this check and that check, and off we go. And I'm like, what a disaster this guy's bought himself into. Because the Astra jet is an airplane that was originally built by Israeli Aircraft Industries. Then the company was sold to Gulfstream. And Gulfstream kind of, sold the airplane for a while. Then they developed the Gulfstream G150, which is kind of a derivative, and then there was the G200 as well, which was another Israeli Aircraft Industries airplane, and then they morphed that into what's called the G280, which is a proper Gulfstream product and an excellent airplane, by the way. So what's happened now to these Israeli Aircraft Industries Astra jets? Well, there's a few out there flying around, but Gulfstream don't really help with spare parts and that. These things do tend to break down a lot, and when they break down a lot, they're then sitting on the ground for a month and a half, before the spare parts arrive. So when I tell people, or when I talk to people about, buying a private jet, I said, okay, forget you're buying a jet, because you're not buying a jet. In reality, you're buying time. So if you're buying time, you want to buy an aeroplane that's going to fly. Now, bear in mind, even the best of aircraft do break down or get a bird strike or whatever, which causes a bit of disruption. The airplane may be on the ground for a few days. But what you have to think of, don't think that you're going to buy the perfect airplane that's never going to break down. And if anybody's telling you that airplanes don't break down or this particular airplane doesn't break down, they're telling you a big lie. Airplanes do break down, even the best of aircraft. Okay? So what you need to figure out is when this thing breaks down, how soon can it get back into the air? So how soon are spare parts available? Is there a mechanic that can fix it? Or is there a maintenance facility, MRO is called, where you can take the airplane into and they can fix it for you? All this kind of stuff. This is another thing which is important. And this is why if you have your own aviation advisor that you are paying, that is representing you, because you're paying them, they're loyal to you, they will go out and they'll navigate this whole maze of private jets. But the private jet is one aspect of the deal. You've got to look at, what jurisdiction is this airplane going to be flown under? We need to choose the right one. Do you create an SPV to put the airplane into or not? And if so, how is that done? The lawyers, are they used to doing aircraft transactions? Do they understand the market? The pre-buy inspection, do these engineers know what they're doing? And then you've got to think of management, hiring pilots. Now, I can do all that for you with my team. When you sign up with us, you don't just get an airplane, you get the whole service. And that really, really is important. And that's the other way of buying a private jet. You can send me an email or send you a form, you fill that form in, we get on a Zoom call. First call is complimentary, and on that call we'll come up with a strategy for you, and I'll lay it out for you. So, okay, this is the airplane we recommend. These are the reasons why. This is how we have to go about the deal because of your situation. We need to speak to you, maybe your accountant and putting him on a call with people that are going to create the SPV, all this kind of stuff. But we get very, very specific because when you're going out there and you're doing the research yourself, of course, first of all, you have to have the time to do all the research. Well, we do all that for you, okay? And then we'll come to the table and in an hour, we'll explain everything that we found, we'll customize a solution for you, and that's really, really important. And it will save you stacks of time, and you'll get exactly what you need, and that's really, really important. So, two ways of doing it. You can either do it yourself and try and patch all the things together, but you could end up buying yourself a jet like this gentleman did, which is going to break down a lot, and so your time has gone out the window, or you can hire a team of professionals which will do all this for you and make sure that you're getting the right thing for you, because remember, you're buying time, you're not buying a jet. Now, if you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, get the algorithm going. Also, I'd love to hear your comments. What's your experience been before buying an airplane? How did you go about it? So let's get that conversation going, and I'd really invite you to look at this next video interview I did with Grant Cardone, who just bought himself a lovely G650, and the process he went through and the reasoning behind why he chose this jet even though he's not flying that much. It's very, very interesting because a lot of people, they approach private jet acquisition from a balance sheet perspective. Grant does it in a slightly different way. So have a look at this video because I'm sure you'll find it very interesting and inspiring. So that's all from Fabrizio Poli on this episode of BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.